Thanks for coming to Politics and Life. This is Jordan. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. If you wouldn't mind, please like, comment, subscribe. Today we are reacting to a Turning Point USA video that was just released. Candace Owens is debating college kids. So this should be very interesting. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let's get it started.
And who have massive amounts of debt. It's a total flip-flop and it's a scam.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you first for engaging with really respectful dialogue with everyone who had
I'm sorry,
questions.
I didn't hear you.
Thank you for engaging with really respectful dialogue with everyone who had questions.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm part of the opposition, but I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask, do you feel that your discourse is generally productive in the American society at large? Like, you're a very polarizing figure, Do you see yourself as contributing to effective dialogue that could lead to change, or more as sort of like a buzzword kind of, gut reaction kind
Fair
of person?
question. So I think a lot of the reason that people perceive me as polarizing is because of the way the media reports on things. And what we have are not journalists, we have activists, right? And so what do you have to do to counter an activist? Be a louder activist, right? And so I think that it's been tremendously important to have conservatives in the mainstream discourse, because people need to know that first and foremost, it's an option to be a conservative, right? People are so fearful of being a conservative. You never had people that were even able to speak as conservatives on college campuses just 10 years ago. You couldn't, I mean, when me and Charlie were starting this thing, when we were, touring at Turning Point USA, to see the way just even the crowds have grown is shows you that this has been really affected. That to see young people standing up and even asking questions, unimaginable, and the only reason that those people maybe have those ideas, because they're not getting them in a classroom, they're not getting it culturally from Hollywood, is because there are people like me that are presenting those options. So I'm always encouraged, and I always want people to know that you don't have to accept the mainstream filth.
Yeah, thank you.
I love that answer. I absolutely love that answer, and I agree. As we know, I'd say about 90% ratio, liberals run colleges from the top up. And it seems like they shout down and kind of silence any conservative who might disagree with the point of view and might not agree with their point of view. And we need more people to be outspoken, because I think it used to be that way. And since college has gone insane or on the deep end of the left, I think a lot of people are waking up and coming out, or scared to come out as conservative. And that's why we need to be loud. We need to be outspoken about our beliefs and what we believe the country should be ran like. Good policies is what I mean.
Thank you so much.
First of all, I want to preface by saying I'm very thankful to be a student at UNC. I'm from New Jersey, so I'm very thankful to be here. But one thing I learned very quickly when I came here is that if you do not agree with the political views of your professor or your TA, your grade will suffer. It will take a hit. As much as they deny it, it's the truth. And as a student, I expect I should be able to express my beliefs, and my grade should reflect that. Even though I'm making a valid point, it's very hard to get that good grade. What's your advice for someone like me who's a conservative trying to express their beliefs and show their support and just be who I am, where my grade won't even get a passing grade because I'm being myself?
So this amazes me, and I hear this all the time. It amazes me because when I think about myself as a parent, and like me spending the money to send my kids to school, if that's what I decide to do, $100,000 to get an education. If I found out that my child was getting a letter, getting a B because the teacher had a personal opinion, I would raise hell. And I think what's happened is that a lot of parents, and I love being in a room with parents because I really lecture them on this, right? Parents have gotten so polite is what's happened, because political correctness is all about saying that even though you're right, you shouldn't say anything, because why would you want to raise hell? And you need people to say this is wrong. It just takes one person to sue the school for them to stop it immediately, because the things that the universities hate is attention for the wrong thing. They hate that. They absolutely do not want people to know what they are doing, and to have people say, I'm pulling my dollars and I'm not doing this. And the problem is I think that the students don't want to be that one person. And I know that Turning Point has created some programs to kind of deal with that and to sort of expose, the professors that are engaging in this. But you should not take that sitting down. I have kind of always been a bull in a china shop. So if I ever felt in any capacity that a teacher was doing that, I would make enough noise where they would give me an A just to never see me again, and that happened once in a feminism class. She just passed me to never see me again, and you have to let them know that you're not going to take it. And by the way, when you develop those skills, get used to not being liked, right? Get used to not being liked, because that's the thing they want you to be afraid of. God forbid you're not liked, then that's going to be problematic. God forbid we call you a name Nope. Once you push past it, once you really recognize that you can disempower these people by letting them know that you're not going to take these things and that their names mean nothing, it changes you forever. You become a stronger person, and it also transforms the way that they behave. So I would say stand up for yourself, but also tell your mom and tell your dad what Candace said, right?
The craziest part is you see people with like American flags on the back of their trucks or like American flag on a shirt or a backpack, and they'll get kicked out or suspended at these schools while they allow these rainbow flags and these BLM shirts to be allowed at all times and throughout these schools through the country. And they've totally flipped the dimension of what school should be and turned it into just like indoctrination camp ran by Marxists. We need to go back to basic studies like math, science, history, physical education, and that's it. That is the goal of teachers, is to teach them about basic survival in life.
Candace said she'd raise hell. Hi.
Hi, I had an honest question for you
Yeah, no worries.
because I feel like your grandfather's story is very inspiring. But you say that people complain so much. But if people didn't complain in those days and fight for people's rights and fight for feminism, which is just equality for women, then you wouldn't be on the stage today and I wouldn't be here asking you this question. And so if people aren't complaining, as you say, and fighting for rights, then nothing would happen. So how can you reconcile these differences?
Yeah. So first, I want to say I understand your sentiment because when I was your age, I thought the same thing, that feminism is just about equality. One of the brilliant things that the left does is they repackage words. It's clearly not feminism anymore. It's designed to actually rip apart women and men, to make women paranoid about men all the time. And every industry is controlled by a man. And to make being on your own, I want to do all by myself, as aspirational, right? It's about all my single ladies who needs a man. So just because you're using the word feminism, it doesn't mean that it is feminism, right? And as best evidenced by the fact that they just keep using it when obviously we are on equal footing with men. And unless you can tell me what you're not allowed to do as a woman in society that men are allowed to do, right? That would be like a systemic problem that we would need to fix. And so also, I want to just remind you that I said earlier that you don't know true history. And when you wake up to the evils of feminism, they were fixated on breaking up the family. They liked death, right? They were creating a cult of death and destruction everywhere, all across the world. And just to be clear, the earliest iteration of a feminist that you're talking about that you deem to be heroic would be Margaret Sanger. That's a first wave feminist, and she hated me. So I feel nothing towards those feminists. And when I look around and I see women who are now crying on TikTok, they don't understand. They did everything they were supposed to do, and I actually empathize and sympathize with them. And then suddenly they're in the world and they're making $25,000 a year, and they can't do bad all by themselves, single ladies. And actually, their bodies start coming online, and their biology starts coming online, and they actually want to get married and have children. And they're realizing that they've stepped into a design that they were promised was going to be, as you hear, it's just going to be great. It's all going to be amazing, and it actually isn't that amazing. I don't know why. What are we even fighting anymore? Men holding doors? That's the new feminist cause. Like, no, equality means don't hold the door. No, I like when men pay for my meals. Love when my husband pays for my meals when we're recording. I like having the door held for me. In a perfect world, our society was so much better when women were involved every single day with their children before we handed them over to the Department of Education. And so I do not see feminism as having accomplished anything in our society. I actually think it was a nightmare that is being repackaged in our textbooks. So I would implore you to just do a little more research and start with Emma Goldman.
Well, even these days, they're saying feminism is just accepting dudes pretending to be women who may have gotten a sex change going in women's bathrooms. So I agree, the movement has been hijacked. Now they're saying that you should just welcome men completely into women's sports, and that's feminism. When they're dudes, be who you want to be, but don't force your opinions and don't force how you feel onto me. You're not going to do that ever. If you want, go in your own leagues, but leave the woman out of this. They're trying to combine the two, and it makes no sense to me.
Congrats on your movie.
Thank
I
you.
know it takes a lot of effort to put stuff like that out there. Let's see. So I know you've spoken on like toxic Black culture and all that stuff. Besides public speaking, what are you doing to combat against toxic Black culture? And then how does your movie Unveiling BLM add to what you're doing? Do you see how it can add to it? Do you see how it
can hinder the movement? I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked it, obviously, because it just lets me brag about myself. So the thing that the media never tells about anybody, and it's so infuriating that they ever say about me, is that it's just like Candace is just critiquing Black America, and then they just strip away everything that I do for Black America. I run a charity. It's called Blexit.com. It's a successful charity, and we are in 39, actually now 41 states. You can go on to Blexit.com, and you can see what we are doing in these inner cities. We have after-school programs in which we pick up these children that are in disadvantaged districts, and we bring them so that they can learn different ideas and so that their parents don't have to worry about them being on the streets. Aside from after school programs, we run summer camps for these children so that they have somewhere to go so that their parents don't have to worry about them being on the streets. Aside from just complaining about BLM and all the destruction that it brought to inner cities, we raised over $100,000 and gave it. We picked Black businesses that had been destroyed in the George Floyd riots and we gave it to them. Now I'm telling you all this stuff because the media never will. They need to paint me as a monster and a person that hates my own race because I have higher expectations, because we should have higher expectations. And there's been this routine lowering of the bar. In terms of the documentary, my purpose in producing that film was that I never thought that there was a more toxic narrative for Black America than the George Floyd story and the lies surrounding it. And I wanted to do that film in a compassionate way because after speaking to his roommates, I felt sad. This was a man that was struggling with drug addiction. Drug addiction is something that probably every single person in this room can relate to. Somebody in your family, a cousin, a brother. This is something that touches Americans. And the George Floyd story should have been a story that brought Americans together. And it's not his fault that after he died, horrible people used the media narrative to divide Americans, to burn down Black inner city communities, and to raise BLM into the multi-million-dollar organization that essentially stole from Americans. And so I wanted to expose all of that because I think that once you expose a lie that big, it helps people be less emotional and to really understand, which was, I think, the thesis of my film, which is that the media is our enemy.
Absolutely. The media is the number one enemy of the people. That's just how I feel. And two, let's remember, BLM is owned by white people. They just use Black people as the face, sadly. And it worked. It got a lot of donations. And where did those donations go, you ask? Did you see the cities get any better at all? Actually, they got worse. Black-owned businesses were burnt down, as Candace just elaborated. And people got attacked, cops got attacked, businesses that didn't agree with the message also got attacked and labeled as racist. It was insane times, and they're trying to bring it back with the Palestine protests now.
So then, what can I do to add to what you're doing?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said, what can I do to add to what you're doing?
Join Blexit. We join the Blexit chapter. Get involved. Every single person. I better see Blexit numbers going off. As soon as you got here, Blexit.com. See what we're doing. And it's an organization that's it's small pocket donors that give $1 a month that allows us to do what we do and to actually make a difference. And it's honestly the best part of what I get to do, other than going home to my children.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. So I noticed you had a lot of thoughts on feminism. I'm a feminist, but
Totally
I
fine.
was just wondering, how do you differentiate between the extremism that exists in feminism, as it does across, multiple different ideologies, but how do you differentiate between the extremism and how, feminists like me think? I don't hate men.
It's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. It's a great question. So what you have to realize about the left when you talk about extremism is they hack words that once had real meaning, and they take them for their own nefarious goals, right? So they'll say racism, and you'll go, oh my God, no, really, racism used to exist, but now it means organizing your pantry. That's obviously not racism. That's completely ridiculous. You see something like feminism, and once upon a time, women were fighting for the right to vote. Well, now we have that. We have equal footing. And now they're using those terms. They're hiding behind the shield of feminism, and they're doing actually horrible things in society. And I blame feminists for almost every ill that we have right now because they've encouraged people not to act as a woman, and they bash men all the time. And I think that they have contributed the most to the breakdown of family in terms of an ideology. Now, for you,
answer my question.
no, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Now, for you, you're like, okay, but I actually am somebody that just believes in equality, that there should be equality between the sexes, right?
I think it's more culturally and socially, not necessarily in the realm of legality.
Sure. So I'm going to ask you, what is it socially? So you could call yourself something, right? That means that there's some fight that you have. What is it socially that you and I have as women that we don't have that men do? Why is there a need for you to be a feminist?
I think as women, we are undervalued when it comes to our intelligence. I think people, especially for me, as a woman who, I'm sorry, what you said?
Go ahead, let her talk.
For me, as a woman, I feel like a lot of people look at me and think I'm superficial. They think I'm vapid. They don't necessarily see that I could be intelligent, that I could speak for myself. They tend to automatically.
But these are all her personal opinions, with 0 people actually saying this to her. So she's just assuming right now, it seems like.
Guys, don't be rude. Go ahead.
I tend to get belittled a lot, and that comes from men, not necessarily women, right?
So you're saying in your personal capacity, men are belittling you, right? But when you talk about affecting actually a social change, this might be your personal experience, but does that mean that all women are going through this, or that all women are experiencing this belittlement by men?
And see, I understand that, but I think also when I listen to you speak, and you speak on why you don't like feminism, I hear a lot of anecdotal work, and I hear a lot of personal experience, like your experience in that one class that you had, whereas I've had 5, 6 classes in my gender studies courses, and I've never experienced anything
that's totally
like that.
Fine. That's totally fine.
You know what I mean?
They're
So
just
I just
laughing
don't feel like it's fair to take personal
it's totally
experience
fine. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm actually talking about the real world consequences of the dangerous ideology telling women that they have to take their clothes off, that they should be on TikTok. I'm talking about real world consequences.
Yeah,
I'm talking about literally the fact that women are no longer, like, they're by and large all climbing the corporate ladder, and that children are being ceded over to the state. So I was giving you an anecdotal example of what happened in my feminist class, but the repercussions of that are seen everywhere. What I am saying is that what I'm offering to you is not to feel like you have to give yourself an ism, right? Don't feel like you have to put yourself in a box. Don't feel like you have to put yourself into some weird social constructs. I think that what you'll find with time is that it constrains you unnecessarily. I don't have a problem with the fact if you want to identify as a feminist and you think that there is some fight that needs to be ended. I don't personally think that that's...
Is conservatism not a box any more than feminism is?
Well, saying that I have conservative principles, feminism is not being a conservative or being a liberal, right? You're talking about an ideology, right? A system. You think
I would assume conservatism is also an ideology as well, is it not?
Sure. Conservatism is an ideology. These are the things that we believe. You could say that everything is an ideology. What I'm saying to you is that I would not necessarily paint yourself into a corner. You don't seem to me like you have any issues speaking up. You don't seem to me like you feel like you're constrained in any way. You're standing up here today. I would offer to you that there's never been a more remarkable time to be a woman in this society. By every statistic, we are doing better than men. That's a fact, right? Men have a higher, we are graduating at a higher rate than men. Men have higher suicide rates. That's why I said to you, despite how you're feeling, what are the real world implications that suggest to you that you are somehow beneath men? You might have a personal experience.
Really?
We can talk about sexual assault everywhere, in the military, in the home.
So are these the things that you're fighting to end sexual assault?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, great. You don't have to be a feminist to fight to end sexual assault.
You don't have to be,
men and women.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't believe you have to
It's
be.
a great cause.
But it's,
men
of course, a part
and
of the
women go through
ideology.
that. I just said to him, one of the biggest things that I give to every year is for human sex trafficking. It doesn't require to be a feminist. Now, you seem really committed to it. I've said to you since the very beginning, if you want to be a feminist girl, put it on a t-shirt, wear it, put a hashtag. I'm just telling you, don't unnecessarily put yourself into a corner, and to recognize that it has never been a greater time. I would offer it is a way better time in this society to be able to...
All right, guys, that's it for that video. As usual, Candace spilling it and killing it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe. Peace.